Welcome to this edition of Inside Leduc. Our guest today is Trent Wilhauk of Wilhauk Beef Jerky. Please listen in as he talks about his respect for the community and how proud he is of the history he has in Leduc and how he lives his life with respect for who he is and where he has come from. Thanks so much for listening. Hello and welcome to this month's edition of Inside Leduc. I am your host, Tarah Flynn. I would like to start by acknowledging that we are on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting grounds and gathering place for the traveling route for many First Nations. We acknowledge these many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. Our guest today is Trent Wilhauk from Wilhauk Beef Jerky. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Tarah. Thanks very much. And thank you for having me, and excited to, let's talk and have a good conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So let's start with a little bit of an elevator pitch of your business.
Well, you know what? We, Wilhauk Beef Jerky, we were originally Leduc Meat Packers. We started in 1964 with my Uncle Ben and my grandfather, and we were a full slaughtering plant where farmers would bring in their own animals, and we'd offer a killing, cut, and wrap service. And we evolved our business over the years, and then in the 80s we started expanding on the services we provided, and we started making this jerky product that that people started ordering and started liking, and then basically due to a tragedy in 2005 we kind of evolved, and we've expanded our business, and as the jerky product got more and more popular and people started ordering it more and more, we looked at the opportunity and the growth involved there, and we decided to change our business strategy, and basically in 2012 we changed from Leduc Meat Packers to Wilhauk Beef Jerky, and it's been successful, and we've done well, and knock on wood, thank you very much. And everything's great.
That's awesome. I have some friends who they're not from town, but every time they come by, they have to come and get the beef jerky for their road trip. It's like a staple for them for their car trip. So,
well, it's funny you say that, because we hear that all the time. Like we know of one family that plans their summer holidays. They live in Trail, BC, and they plan their summer holidays coming around here just to get products. So you hear more of those stories all the time. Like this product has gone overseas with the military. We've had a guy from Norway who would come in and pre-COVID would be coming in doing business in the Nisku area and loading up on product and sending it back to Norway with them. It's, I just say thank you, thank God every day that, we, not to sound egotistical or cocky or anything like that, but we're lucky that we got a good product, and we appreciate the support that, that everybody gives us. And it's been good. I don't know how else to say it.
No, for sure. Because it's definitely a staple for our community. So absolutely. So in that process from going from meat packing to the beef jerky, was it just like someone was a fan in your family and they're like trying out recipes to sell to the customers, or like, what was that process like?
Well, as we were doing the cut and wrap portion of doing custom killing for farmers and stuff, farmers started asking, well, can we make jerky for them? So, we kind of started playing around with different recipes and stuff, and kind of putting our own fixes on things. And, it was a lot of experimenting, a lot of, throwing this, that, and everything else into it, and, throwing in a bowl, mixing around, and see what kind of recipe you come up with in the end. It took a long time to come up with the recipe that we have today. In fact, I actually changed the recipe just a little bit by just adding a little more in one ingredient in 2012 or 2013 to make the recipe as it is today. So, a lot of pretending you're a chemist working in the lab and and experimenting, and you have some failures, you have some successes, but at the end of the day, we came up with the product that it is today, and we're just happy that everybody likes it.
That's awesome. So growing up, did you always like, I'm going to work in the family business, or was this always something that you inspired to be a part of?
Actually, to be honest with you, I never wanted anything to do with the family business. Growing up, I always wanted to be a teacher. That was always my goal in life. School, all that stuff, wanting to be a teacher. Well, when you see what teachers go through nowadays, I kind of changed my thought process. And I actually, while I was in school, I was working at the Nisku Inn back when it was the Nisku Inn at the time. And I was working in the kitchen just as a prep cook. And the chef at the time, I don't know what he saw in me, but he thought I had some potential. So I ended up being working in the kitchen, being an apprentice. I ended up getting my journeyman and red seal, and I spent in most parts 14 years there. And when I had finally left the hotel, I left as the executive chef of the hotel. The reason why I left is I took another opportunity in another establishment. And then we had a family tragedy where my brother passed away in 2005. And it just, at that time, my dad, my uncle were getting set ready to retire. And it just kind of made sense for me to come and kind of help out around the family business. And so I came back here in 2005, and we made some hard decisions in regards to what we were going to do with this business, and that's when we decided to shut down the custom aspect of the plant, the cut and wrap and the killing and all that, and focus more on the jerky. And with my experiences in regards to dealing with food products and spices and all that stuff, we experimented with the jerky spice and all that stuff to come up with the product that it is today. But long story short, this was never supposed to be mine. This was always supposed to be my brother's, and I was perfectly okay with that. I never wanted anything to do with it. And yes, when I was a kid, I worked here in the summertime, going through school and stuff like that, and so I knew the business inside out. But unfortunately, tragedy brought it to where I am here today. And hindsight being 2020, best decision of my life, but it was something I never wanted at the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I find it's very interesting how you still ended up in the kitchen and doing that type of thing as a passion and growing that on the same sidelines. I find that that's very intriguing. But if you've been in it your whole life, then, it kind of makes sense that you have a passion and a skill because you're working it every year, right? Every summer. So
yeah, you know what? Exactly. Like I had my own career path laid out and doing quite well in it, but and I keep saying it, but it was a tragedy that kind of made me realize that this business has been good to me and my family, and if we wanted to see it continue and survive and move forward, I knew what I needed to do.
mm-hmm.
And my dad and I, we had some really hard conversations about business and where we think this should go, what we should do, my thoughts on the process, Dad's thoughts on the process, involving my Uncle Norm, who Dad and him were partners at the time. So it's, in the end, it all worked out. Thank you. But there was some tough days deciding what was the right decision moving forward.
Mm-hmm. I can definitely, I can see that from the outside in. And when you say hard conversations, I really bet they were, because in all these interviews that I've done, the transfer over from dad to son has never really been easy, let alone when you have a tragedy and that kind of weight behind it as well. I can definitely, hard conversations definitely is probably a nice way to put that.
Well, and hard conversations, a lot of it has to do with, where do you see the business going? Where do you see in 5 years? Where do you see in 10 years? Where do you see in 20 years? And and to a degree, succession planning. What a lot of people don't realize is that this is the third oldest business in Leduc, and it's also the oldest business in its original location. This building that I'm in now was my Uncle Ben and my grandfather built it in 1964. So there's a legacy here. This business has a huge legacy in Leduc. It falls along the lines of Gage Agencies, Leduc Truck Service, some very big name businesses in town that have a history. So if I hadn't came in and kind of took over, we're not sure if we would still be here today. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to portray myself as, the savior or anything like that, but sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone to do the right thing. And hindsight being 2020, I hope I've done that. And I hope I've made my mom and dad up in the skies happy and proud, and my uncles and my grandfather who slaved away here over the years. And you know what? We're just thankful, because you hear so many stories nowadays of what's going on, especially with COVID and the economy and everything else. You can't take anything for granted, because it's here today, gone tomorrow. So
that definitely is a story that we're hearing, and why I really wanted to start this podcast now, because I really wanted to give another platform for businesses to promote themselves, and for us to really get to know the business owners, so that maybe we'll support them more locally if we actually know who they are as people and the dreams and the visions that they have for their business.
Yeah. So. Well, yeah. And you know what, like it really upset me when COVID first hit, that the government's sitting there saying, and full disclosure, I'm a UCP guy, card carrying member, everything else. But it really upset me when the government decided that they were going to tell what business is essential and not essential. Like when COVID first hit, I had told all my employees, you guys need to be prepared to be able to live your lives, because there's no guarantees we're going to be open tomorrow or a week from now or a month from now. And then when the government sits there and says, well, you're a food service, you get to be essential, but we're going to close the nail salon, we're going to close the hairstylist, we're going to close the gyms, we're going to dictate on how food service is handled. Well, how can you say that business is not essential? That's essential to the owner, to their livelihood. That's essential to the employees that they have employed with them, that pay money, that get paid to do a job that feeds their families and looks after, puts food on their table. It still boggles my mind to this day how a government can sit there and say, and I don't want to get into government and politics and all that, but in my mind, every business is essential.
No, I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that, because you never know who your neighbor across the street, if they're the business owner, like you really don't know how that also transpires in the world of your community. So I full-heartedly agree with that. Yeah, for sure. So, but one thing I didn't realize was that you're the third oldest business. I didn't realize that, Leduc. I knew you always been there, because I'm born and raised here, and I remember being in mom's car driving past and the building was there, but yeah. I didn't realize you were the third oldest business in town. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we figured it out. Like at one time we were the fourth because of the Leduc Cash store at the time, but as businesses move on, and whether they close or sold or change or whatever, we're the third. In fact, when this business was built in its location today, we were 2 miles out of town. And then now you look at it and we're just about in the heart of downtown. So it's kind of crazy on how Leduc's evolved. Like when I graduated high school, there was 9,000 people in this town. Now in this city, there's 35,000. So it's, born once again, like you, I was born here, raised here. This is home, back in the day, you knew everybody.
And everybody knew you.
Everybody. Yeah. Well, exactly. Like you knew everybody.
Yeah.
It wasn't uncommon when we were in high school and stuff. We'd be sitting in the parking lot of the high school on a Friday night, and then the RCMP would kind of come in, and they would sit there and talk to the kids and talk to us. How's it going? What's happened? It's crazy how everything's changed.
Oh yeah.
So, but as this community's gotten bigger, and we're lucky. Thank you. We're still here.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So, what's the greatest thing you've learned about yourself since you've started?
Probably. Oh boy, that's kind of a tough question. Probably patience. As crazy as that sounds, because you really got to keep an even keel. You can't let your highs get too highs. You can't let your lows get too lows. To a certain degree, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. And being a business owner, I think you got to have a lot of patience, because you got to take the good and the bad and the ugly. And let's face it, every business has good, every business is bad, every business has ugly. And we've been there. There were times that, this business wasn't as successful as it is now. And once again, I'm not trying to sound cocky or anything, but every business struggles at some point. And you can be successful one minute and you're not successful the next, and you gotta be patient, and you just gotta just kind of take it with a grain of salt and just ride the wave, I guess is what I want to say.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you do when you're in one of those lows? Like, how do you beat that mental game when you're in a low? Don't
panic. Probably the best answer I have for you off the top of my head right now. A natural reaction when something goes wrong is panic set in. One thing that I've really learned over the years, and full disclosure, when I was in my late teens and early 20s, I was a bit of a hothead. I would let my emotions get the best of me sometimes, and they wouldn't necessarily put me in a great spot. And you, as you get older, you grow up, you become more sane sometimes. And at the end of the day, once again, I keep using the word patience, and just you just learn to deal and adapt. And you just can't let your emotions get to you, because once you let your emotions hit back to you, nothing ever works well for you. And that's my philosophy. Some people might be, maybe different or something like that, but that's been successful for me, and that's how I look at things.
No, and I agree with that. I am an emotional being myself, so I do have to remember to check them and just start being pragmatic. And what am I committed to? What's my goal? Let's focus on that. Take a deep breath to disconnect, because. Yeah, no, I find that for myself very much. Yeah.
You have to, and sometimes you have to make hard decisions, and the last thing you want to do is make a hard decision based on emotion. That never goes well. I don't care who you are, you're basing a decision on emotion. It's, in my opinion, that's not going to end well for you.
No, I absolutely agree. Yeah. So, what is a favorite thing you have about running your business?
I think probably the most favorite thing I have about this business is actually the customers. There's a lot of times I'll be sitting in my office and you'll hear a customer come in the door, and they'll talk about, we've driven, I don't know, pick a place. We've driven from Medicine Hat, Alberta, just to come up and have your product. Oh, it's so good. And they're asking questions, and they want to know about the history of the business, our family, our to an extent our legacy in the business. And to me, I think that is probably the one thing that I take the greatest joy out of. And then like seeing my staff, but they enjoy that conversation as well, because you can almost have a sense that they're very proud to work here. And to me, I think that is a telltale sign of that you're treating staff right, because at the end of the day, not to kind of get off topic, but you're only as successful as your staff. And I'm a firm believer, because like I've worked in those crappy situations where, where I've always thought of, well, I've dealt with some managers and some supervisors and owners and stuff over the years in my career, that, I always said I would never do what they've just done to me. I would never treat my staff how they treat this staff and everything else. So to me, when you see staff coming to work every day with a smile on their face and they want to be here and they like being here, makes it all worthwhile.
No, 100%. They are the face of your business. Like they truly are. So
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like I keep saying, without good staff, you're nowhere. And I like to think I'm very lucky. Like, in the 10 years that I've been the man in this room, I've only ever had to terminate 2 staff. If somebody leaves, it's because they're moving on, whether it's because of family or they're moving to a different town or city or just got another better opportunity. And you know what? Every staff member that I've had always comes back to say hi. To me, that's pretty special.
Oh, that totally speaks volumes. And yeah, absolutely. There's only one boss that I ever had that I reach out to and was like, hey, what are you doing? Like, yeah, it speaks volumes that they do. So that's pretty fantastic.
Like I'm a firm believer, treat people how you want to be treated, especially in an employment environment. And like I said before, I've worked with some real not nice people back in the day in different locations that, I always I don't want to be repeating myself, but I always swore, given the opportunity to be the man, to be the guy in charge, I would never treat people how I got treated. And that's what I do. And it's worked well for me. And like I said, I got staff that have worked for me in the past that always come back and say hello. I got staff that worked for me years ago that will phone me and say, hey, do you need help at Christmas time?
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So
yeah.
Yeah. So it's I'm very lucky because it's all part of the legacy of this business I look at, because that's how my dad, my uncles, and my grandfather operated. And that's just what we do. We want to look after the people that are looking after us, because without that, you will never be successful.
No, I agree. I completely agree. So you've mentioned that you've been in charge for the last 10 years. In that evolution and the way that you've evolved, have you experienced any pushbacks or from any of the changes that you've had or created?
Well, it's kind of funny, because when I took the big chair, I started making changes in regards how we did business, in regards to marketing, online ordering, and I basically get into the 21st century or the 22nd century, however you want to look at it. My dad and my uncle were very much set in their ways, and they were very comfortable in how they ran the business and how how it was working for them. And let's, when you're talking 60, 70-year-old men, they still don't get, Wi-Fi, internet, online, all the online social media, all that stuff. So when I came in and I started evolving the business and making those changes and doing those different things, there are some days my uncle's throwing his hands up in the air and going, "What are you doing? Like, this isn't going to work. This, you're crazy." And I'm like, "Don't worry about it. It'll trust me. He goes, "Well, I don't know. This is not how your dad and I would have done this." And I just laugh and at the end of the day, he sits back and pardon my French on this one, but he kind of looks at me and goes, "Well, son of a bitch, you're right." And then we laugh, and so, but
Yeah. That's awesome. So you just follow your instinct whenever you have some evolution. You just do a little bit of, is that how I take that?
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You always, in a business, you always got to be evolving. Like if you're always going to be the status quo, eventually, and once again, my opinion, but the status quo wears out. So you got to evolve with the times. You got to adapt and keep moving forward, because one thing you never want to do is be stale.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. So do you think that's one of the reasons that you've been in business so long, is that you've adapted and grown and pivoted with the market?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. As we're experiencing today, the world's changing right before our eyes. Whether we like some of the changes or not, that's a whole other conversation. But any successful business does have to adapt their business model, their practices, and all that stuff to stay successful, relevant, or basically just survival mode. It's a crazy world out there, and if you, once again, like I said, if you get stale, that sometimes doesn't work out in the best thing for you.
Yeah, right. So what has been the biggest pivot that you've had since starting your business?
Probably the social media aspect of everything, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, word of mouth, just evolving, making sure that we're always out there, and we're always in people's minds, and any time that you're going to have your friends over on a Friday night for whether it's a social gathering around a fire pit, while respecting social distancing, wearing a mask, and all that stuff. So
yes, yes.
But had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
But like you want that gather, you want those people gathering. The first thing they think of is, oh my God, I need to go get some jerky, some ham sausage, some pepperoni, or some burger patties or whatever, and they're coming here to get it. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So is that something that you do for yourself, or do you have someone to do over your marketing? Like, how is that piece, or is your employees do it? Like for social media?
So for social media, I do most of it. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not the greatest at it, but probably our biggest advertising, to be honest with you, is, at the end of the day, still word of mouth. And it all goes back to customer service. It all goes back to customer relations, and it all goes back to the product that you sell. Word of mouth is I don't care how much, and I do it. I advertise on the radio. I advertise. We sponsor an arena in the rec center. We do a lot of different things, whether it's known to the community or not. But at the end of the day, it's word of mouth. That is the number one thing in the whole world. And as long as you're offering a good product, great customer service, greeting the customer when they walk in with a smile on their face, and walking out the door with a "thank you very much, have a great day," and a smile on your face, and your product is good, people will keep coming back, and people keep talking, and we still get people that come in today, and we've been in business 60 some years, that say, "Yeah, I was at a camp out in, I don't know, pick a spot in Banff, and a friend of mine brought your jerky and passed it around, and I had to come drive up and get some." So word of mouth.
Yeah, for sure. So how do you celebrate those wins when you hear it? Like, or is that a moment that you celebrate, or what is that process like for you?
You know what? It just puts a smile on your face. Once again, keeping an even keel. Like, you're never gonna keep 100% of people happy. Okay. If you think that you're going to have 100% success rate. You're kidding yourself. And you know what? Like with our jerky, it's very popular all over. We get people calling all over Canada, the U.S., Europe, everything else. But there's other people that make some great product out there too that are successful too. So once again, you just keep an even keel, because you might satisfy, I don't know, pick a number, 90% of the people that say your product's the best, but there might be 10% of the people say, no, I like so-and-so's better. No problem. Respect that. Hey, I've tried some great jerky product out there too. I enjoy driving around and popping into different shops and talking to different business owners and trying their product. And there's a lot of good stuff out there. So you just once again, you just can't, just keep an even keel. Don't let some criticism get to you. If it's legitimate criticism, make the changes that you need to make to improve. But overall, it's all taste. It's all personal preference, and you just keep it cool.
Yeah, for sure. So is that also how you handle challenges? Is like you just see your end goal and then just try to like make sure that when you have a challenge, you're keeping to that, or do you quite evolve where your vision is?
Well, I think what happens is you kind of have to. It all depends on the different challenge. Okay, like right now, our biggest challenge right now, and I don't know if for yourself, if you do the grocery shopping in your household, but have you seen beef prices?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's probably the biggest challenge I'm facing right now. Is my costs in regards to beef prices have doubled since COVID. And so when you're sitting there as a business owner, you kind of have to decide what you want to do, especially during the peak of COVID. My beef costs have doubled, but then how do you adjust your prices accordingly, considering people are losing their jobs, unemployment's going high, costs are going up, and a whole bunch of different things. So I took the philosophy in myself in that I ate a lot of different costs involved, not to raise my costs, because I didn't want people thinking I'm gouging them or just trying to rip people off, because you don't know
Yes.
how people feel, how they think, how they're, because everybody's situation's different. So we really held our costs as much as possible. Finally, in the summer, our jerky was running at $35 a pound. I actually, in talking with my cousin who runs our Spruce Grove location, we decided to move the jerky up to $40 a pound. We probably should have done that a year ago, but we both agreed that, look at the situation we're in. We're just going to have to eat some of this for a while, and and at the end, nobody really blinked an eye on it. So it's dealing with different challenges. You can't really have a set, this is what I'm going to do. You just kind of got to read the situation and deal with every different challenge differently and accordingly. And that's what we did. So
yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know for sure. And I think our audience will also appreciate the fact that you really thought about them and how that would affect them if you increase the prices, right? Like it's you just don't know, especially now where your consumers are and how they can live with that, right? So
100%. Like we essentially, we like to use the term, we're a luxury item. Okay, people don't need jerky every day in their life. They don't need sausage every day in their life. They don't need pepperoni every day in their life. And especially, like I said, with people, unemployment rising and people losing jobs and all that stuff, don't give them a reason not to shop here,
mm-hmm.
because they can't afford to come here,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
right? Because they're people are sitting there looking at, how am I putting food on the table next week? And you gotta read the world, and you really gotta know what's going on, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you mentioned that you have another location. Is that something that you're looking for in the future, is to potentially expand more?
Well, I'm going to say no at this point. Um, basically what happened is my dad and my uncle had an agreement in place that when we evolved into what is now Wilhauk Beef Jerky, that if my cousin wanted an opportunity to open a store in another location, that was part of the agreement in place. Um, my cousin that runs the Spruce Grove location now is actually a real estate agent
Okay.
for years at Spruce Grove, and he was doing okay, but as real estate is a tough market.
Yes.
And so he came to me in 2017, in early 2017, and says, Trent, I think I really want to open another location. What are your thoughts? I want to open in Spruce Grove. And we kind of talked about it, and looked at the positives and negatives of the area, and like I said, at the end of the day, there was a gentleman's agreement, nothing in writing, anything else, that we've always said we look after family. And my cousin Trevor wanted a store, so we made it happen for him. And you know what? Spruce Grove does good. When people ask me how that store does, and I said, well, what? The staff are getting paid, the bills are getting paid. As far as I'm concerned, that's a success. It'll never be like the Leduc store, and that's just because of the history and this business has been here forever, everything else. So it's a different market too. Spruce Grove is a little more, I don't know what term you want to use, uppity.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a terrible term, but I don't. They're more. Let's go this way. Spruce Grove is more white collar,
Yes.
where Leduc is more blue collared.
Yes, very much so.
So our Spruce Grove store has a few more different things in the store than what we have, but that's just to meet the to meet the clientele that's over there. Mm-hmm. So, but you know what? It's doing well, and but as for expansion in the future, no, I don't have a desire to open a location in, I don't know, pick a place, Brooks, Alberta, or Regina, Saskatchewan, or anything like that. I'm a firm believer that the more stores you have, possibly the more problems you can have. And right now, I enjoy my life right now, so I don't really want to add any stresses to it.
For sure.
At this point. So, and you don't know. You could open 3 more stores someplace, and they could be failures.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I got a really good friend that has a very successful waste management company, who decided that he was going to open another store in Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, a couple other places. And, he was doing okay, but the stresses that went on in his life, whereas his wife's kind of looking at him like, I'm getting tired of you not being home, dear.
Yeah.
Oh, it's, what? So if you're okay, you just make them come to you.
Yeah, right? No, for sure. Absolutely. So if you don't see expansion in your future, what is do you have a vision for the next 5 years?
You know what? My vision for the next 5 years is just keep trucking along. Just keep doing what we're doing. My second oldest son, Adam, is now working here in the business. And eventually, the way it's looking right now, he'll probably take over from me. So there is, I guess, quote unquote, a succession plan in place. But as for what the vision is of the business next 5 years, well, you know what? I don't know how anybody can answer that question, because, man, has the world changed on us in the 18 months? So at the end of the day, just keep doing what we're doing, offering a good product with excellent customer service, and hopefully the door keeps opening and closing, and people are walking in and out and buying our product, and yeah.
So when you mentioned that there's a succession plan, are you prepared to be on the other side of that conversation with his visions
100%.
and goals? Yeah.
100%. What I guess in my situation is that I'm 51 years old, and I've buried my brother, I've buried my mom, I've buried my dad. And my dad died at 68. My brother died at 31. My dad died at 68. My mom just passed away 3 years ago. One thing you really learn is life is too short. And now, and once again, you're seeing it now with COVID and what we're having to deal with. That if God willing, and I'm lucky that, for example, I can spend, I don't know, my goal is to spend the winters in Palm Springs. Now, if that ever becomes a reality or not, God only knows. But if you're lucky enough and God willing, you know what, life's too short, and if you have the opportunity, take advantage of those opportunities. Because, man, oh man, here today, gone tomorrow. And my dad had just finally decided to retire. Was enjoying the Palm Springs life after backbreaking work for years and years and years. Comes home from Palm Springs not feeling well, and 2 weeks later is diagnosed with lung cancer, and the doctor basically told him, he'll have 6 months, and he deteriorated faster than what we expected, and literally it was just about 6 months to the day he was gone. And he just finally was able to enjoy his life after working his ass off, where every bone in your body hurts, and the backbreaking labor that they went through, especially all those years working in a slaughtering plant and cutting meat and stuff. Life's not fair. So if you get that opportunity, don't even think twice about it. And that's how I live my life. I just look at it like, if I can do it, I do it. Of course, whether it's financial or obligations or anything else, we can't always do what we want to do, but given the chance, I do it because life's too short.
For sure. There's definitely a moment of work to live or live to work. There's definitely has to be that balance and that ebb and flow between the two, just in the economic world we live in. But
exactly. And I tell my employees the same thing. If you got an opportunity to take a week off or 2 weeks off and do something with your family and that kind of thing, you go do it. I know in my philosophy, I look for days to close my business on statutory holidays and stuff. But I don't stay open. If it's a holiday Monday, I close, because you know what? Treat your employees like how you want to be treated. I don't want to be sitting here Christmas Day. Why should an employee be sitting here Christmas Day? Understanding, every business is different and stuff like that, but that's just my philosophy. Is you have the opportunity to do it, you do it. Yeah. So if I got an employee that comes to me and says, I want to go hunting for 4 days with my dad, what days you leaving?
Yeah. That's impressive, because I have to tell you, most of the employers that I worked for, it's what can you do for me? Right? Sorry, you can't have that day off, because, and you're like, well, I have to, though. I'm giving you a month's notice. I can't be here that day. And they're like, well, I have no one else. You have to replace the shift. And you're like, well, I'm giving you a month, man.
Exactly. And my philosophy is very simple: is I don't ask my employees to do anything that I'm not willing to do. To be honest with you, I don't call myself the owner. I always call myself the janitor. And if that means I got to scrub a toilet or or clean machinery or clean the smokehouse or make product, I'm not scared to get my hands dirty. And because I've seen that where, you've got owners or managers or whoever who are sitting back at their desk with their feet up on their desk, barking and giving directions, but they've never been in the trenches, and they refuse to help. And like for example, at Christmas time, we're in order to meet the demands that we have, I work the night shift. I could, I'll be here at 8:00 in the morning to start the day. I'll go home for a couple hours and just kind of, maybe have something to eat and kind of take my mind off things. And then I'm back at, whatever time, and I'll work right through the night till 5-6 o'clock in the morning, go home, catch a couple hours of sleep, and then start the day again. And I think that also shows your staff that I'm not willing to ask you to do anything that I'm not willing to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important. And I think that's why a business, in my opinion, a business can be successful, is because you're hands-on. You're willing to do, whether it's the glory stuff or the grunt work, you're willing to get your hands dirty. Mm-hmm. And I'm still willing to get my hands dirty because, like I said, I've been there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, respect. It's just a level of respect for your staff, for your business, and for everybody included, to know that they see that and you give it. It's would definitely explain how long your staff have been there in regards to that level of commitment and respect that you give them and the business.
100%. Like, it's, keep going back to it. Staff is the most important aspect of your business. You got good staff, you treat them right, and, not to be repetitive again, but chances are you're going to be successful. And when you see a business that's not successful, and and they've had staffing issues and that kind of thing in the past, well, you know what? Figure it out. Mm-hmm. You clearly need to make some changes.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. So what is your favorite thing that you love about Leduc and our community, being born and raised here and everything?
It's home. It's, I don't know how else to explain it other. It's home. I've been very fortunate. Like you said, I was born here, raised here, went to school here. It's home. Like, I'm a very proud and fierce Leducian. That's the right term to use. I care about the community. We do a lot of, like, with the business stuff. We sponsor a lot of things in the community. We do a lot of things that we refuse to take acknowledgement for because it's the right thing to do. We do different stuff at the hospital with youth groups, with recreation groups, different charity events, and you look after the people that looked after you is probably the philosophy behind that. And you know what? We've been very fortunate that we've been a successful business over the years here, and well known. And I'd like to think that we have a good reputation in this town. So do what you can, and look after the people that look after you, and whether that's, once again, whether that's your staff or whether that's community, you do those things. And and this is my home. I was born here, raised here, gonna die here. And if I can help out in some way, and I'm gonna do it because it's home. That's
No, I get it. And that's exactly my answer. When people ask me too, and I'm like, cause it's home. Like, it's where I was raised. It's where I'm raising my children. It's, I can't imagine myself living anywhere else. Holidaying, wintering, maybe, but,
Oh yeah. No, it's exactly.
This is home for me. I get it.
one of the things that one of the things that I really told my kids is that be careful what you do in this community, because especially in nowadays with social media and cell phones and cameras and all this other stuff, if you're going to go to the Canadian Brew House on a Friday night and be an idiot, and however that looks, it's going to come back to haunt you. And so treat everybody, treat this community with respect, and be respectful wherever you are and what you do, because I always tell them, I'm going to know about it before you even get home. So, but in saying all that, it's, it's Leduc has been very good to our family in 60 some years, and you know what, treat it with respect, because it's your home.
No, for sure.
If everybody doesn't know you personally, they know of you. And once again, I'm not trying to sound like, cocky or arrogant or, ego or anything like that. But the last thing you need is people talking bad about you that possibly could reflect on your business and everything else. And so, I tell the kids, even though you have no direct involvement in the business, your last name's your last name, and people aren't dumb. They'll put it together real fast on who you are. And if you're running around being an idiot, well, I don't want to hear about it.
No, for sure.
And I thought I would have raised you better. So
yeah,
I don't know if that's the right answer or that's the answer, but that's just how I tell my kids, just be respectful, because this is our community, this is our home, and you treat everybody with respect.
But that word respect, it plays out in how you treat your staff. It plays out in the fact that you call yourself the janitor. You give yourself that, like, it's a respect thing. So I can see how that will run through for you, I guess, in your parenting as well as in your business life. So, but I am going to take that in regards, because my kids are just younger. Like, currently they're 11, 9, and 8. So we're just getting into them having some freedom, but I'm definitely going to take that in regards to, be respectful.
One thing I tell my kids is that the world is an ugly place. Let's be honest. And to a degree, jealousy rears its ugly head. So whether if you're a successful business or you're a successful entrepreneur or the mayor or counselors and everything else, jealousy does rear its ugly head. So don't give people ammunition to, and don't do anything stupid that puts you in a bad light. And we were all young, we were all dumb. Like, I made my stupid mistakes in my life, and just like you, I'm sure you have, and your kids are going to, my kids are going to, but just as much as possibly, just treat everybody with respect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's lost on society nowadays, is respect. Yes. And you can look at it as simple as whether you believe in masks, whether you believe in vaccines or anything like that. Myself personally, not to get on that particular topic, but I'm a fully vaccinated person. I believe in the science. I believe in vaccinations, but I have friends and family that are absolutely against it. And you know what? Just if that's their belief, that's their belief. The comment I make at the end of the day is, what your beliefs are your beliefs, but just be willing to accept the consequences of your beliefs. And just, if that's what you believe in and that's how you want to live your life, all the power to you. Mm-hmm. But if you run around shooting your mouth off and pushing your own personal agenda, well, no,
Yes, cause and effect, right? Like,
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Not to get on that subject, but
no, for sure.
No,
absolutely. But it's a matter of respect for other people and their beliefs and how they see your business and how you interact with them, and that whole it all plays in together in regards to
well, it's, it's kind of funny because, like, for myself, for example, I like to think I like to have fun, like, but one thing you'll never see me in Leduc. You'll never see me in an establishment on a Friday night tying one on, because somewhere along the lines, once again, the respect, the jealousy, and all that stuff, I don't never want to put myself in a bad situation.
mm-hmm.
Whether because you've had too much to drink and maybe you say something that you shouldn't have, or you've done something that you shouldn't have, or just at the wrong place at the wrong time. So you know what? If I wanna have a good time, I'll go someplace where nobody knows me, and sometimes that doesn't even work well. And kind of change, kind of telling a quick funny story. We were in Mexico a few years ago, and myself and my buddy Curtis, we were up at the swim up bar, and we we're talking to these few other guys, and it's usual conversation. Hey, where are you from? Canada. Oh, whereabouts? Alberta. Oh, so are we. Oh, Edmonton area. Oh, well, so are we. Sherwood Park. Oh, well, we're from Leduc. Oh, that's the place with the great jerky. Oh, my buddy Curtis turned, looked at me, just shook his head, just like, unbelievable. Every time we go someplace. And then the funny part is when we're talking about it, when we're talking to these people after, they wouldn't believe who I was. It was like, of course, my buddy Curtis is telling them, like, well, this is who I am, and that kind of thing. And they're like, oh, no way, no, impossible. So you got to be careful also too, right?
Yeah, no, but
funny.
I think that's really, because you've mentioned succession lots, you've mentioned legacy, you've mentioned a lot of that aspect. And then you keep talking about like the respect of your name and making sure that you have that image and that brand and that, I think, that respect. Like, I think it really rings through in who you are as a person, and that boundary, and why staff will keep wanting to work for you, because you have that stance and that stature of, I'm going to own my business. I'm going to own my succession. I'm going to own where I am and how I stand in my community. And you have that give and that respect for your staff, given just how you live your life. Even, I think that that's really awesome.
You know what? I credit my parents for that. My dad was to a degree a simple man, and he always believed in the motto, treat people how you want to be treated. And, like I said earlier, I've worked in some not so fun locations with not so much fun people. And that resonates with me right to the bitter end. And, not to be repetitive, but that's just how I roll. I want to be treated like, I want to treat people like how I got treated, and or how I want. Jeepers, now here I'm fumbling my words, but I treat people how I want to be treated, and is it always perfect? No, but I always say the day a staff member wakes up in the morning and says, "God, I don't want to go to work today," then you know what? I need to look in the mirror and find out why that employee doesn't want to come to work.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the reason behind it, and if I can't fix something or help them out and do what I can to make it a positive experience and not a regret or a negative experience, I'll do that, because once again, like I said, you're only as good as your staff.
Yeah, no, but I think it speaks volume, and it really, I think, is a key undertone of this whole conversation is that respect level and that passion, but yet stance that you have to make sure that it's one for all, and it's one for your community, and that there's a sense of pride for you and for everybody. So no, I think that it's really inspiring to be having this conversation and hearing this. So thank you.
Well, it's at the end of the day is that I never want to give a negative impression. I never want to give a negative experience. It's like I said before, I consider us a luxury item. We're not a necessity. So if you start, pissing people off and doing stupid things and acting like an idiot and shooting your mouth off and just well, that at the end of the day, that's going to reflect on your business. That's going to reflect on your family. It's going to reflect on your kids.
Yeah.
The last thing you need is your sons or daughters coming home and saying, "Oh, Dad, I was at I don't know, Cosmos, and somebody found out who I was and said, oh, your dad's a jerk," or
Yeah.
stronger words or anything like that. There's nothing that brings a smile to my face that when the kids come home and yeah, Dad, I was at or actually we just actually had, just as an example, my sons decided they were going to take a trip to Toronto to go watch baseball. So they were at the airport in Toronto, and my son Adam, who works here, was wearing a Wilhauk Beef Jerky hoodie. And a guy stops him in the terminal in Toronto and says, "Where'd you get that hoodie?" And Adam kind of chuckled, and they start talking. He goes, "That's the best stuff in the whole world. We plan our trips around there and all this stuff." Well, the boys, they were just absolutely shocked. And they're phoning and texting me and saying, "Yeah, we ran this guy in Toronto and he just couldn't stop raving about the jerky and the business and everything else." And you could see how much pride they have in that. And and how they're proud to talk about that their great grandfather and their great uncles and their grandfather and their father and the legacy that this business has provided. Like, when you include Adam, this is a fourth generation business.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings a smile to my face. Like that tells me we're doing something right.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. No, and I'm very grateful to have you in our community and to be able to have this discussion with you and to really, again, like get past that front door that I've drove past my whole life in this, you know what I mean? And really get to know you and see how you run the business and really what drives you as an entrepreneur and how you've evolved and stuck with it and the passion. Like I'm really honored. Thank you so very much.
No, I thank you for the kind words and thank you for the opportunity to join you here today. And to be honest with you, I don't do these very much because I never want. One thing that I always try to do is keep a low profile. I don't. One thing I hate, actually shouldn't say hate's a strong word, but one of the things I try to avoid is the look at me, I'm trying, trying to, I don't know if I'm making sense here, but I really just, I try to live a quiet life.
Mm-hmm.
and just provide people with quality service with a quality product and like I said before, if I can help out in the community, sometimes we're acknowledged for the stuff we do, and there's other stuff that we've done that we want to remain quiet, because at the end of the day, one thing that my mom always said, if you're doing something for recognition, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So unfortunately, like whether you're sponsoring an arena in the rec center, well, you can't kind of avoid the recognition part of that. But we do a lot of stuff with the Leduc Community Hospital Foundation and different events that I don't want the recognition for it. I do it because thank you, God, and thank you, the community, for supporting us and making us a part of their lives, that I'm able to give back to different groups. That you just do it because it just makes you feel good. Like it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, for sure. So. No, well, and I very much appreciate your time, and I really hope that our listeners can grant, like there were so many little nuggets in regards to how you've grown and evolved. And I really hope our listeners are able to take those and be inspired by them like I am. So thank you so very, very much for everything.
Well, no, it's, you know what, it's like I keep saying, I just believe in you treat people how you want to be treated. And you know what, we just do the best we can, especially in today's world and the crop storm that we're living in right now. And yeah, you just do what you have to do. That's just the way I look at it. Now, whether I'm right or wrong, that's totally up for discussion, but it's worked for me, and that's just how I roll.
Yeah, for sure. So do you have any parting words for our listeners today?
I think at the end of the day, I just want to say thank you for all the support and the people that, you know, that have supported this business over the past 60 some years. You know, we're very lucky to have the support of the community and surrounding area, and you know what, we just want to make a quality product and give you a positive experience every time you come in and out of the door. And yeah, there are days where we get it wrong. We'll make a mistake, but you know what? One of the first things I do is own the mistake, and I try to correct it as fast as I possibly can. So at the end of the day, I just want to say thank you to my hometown, to the community of Leduc, and we appreciate the support, especially during these trying and hard times. And you know what? Let's just hopefully we can get through this and get back to whatever normal is going to look like, and let's get everybody back to work, and you know what? And let's get everybody healthy again, and try to get some normalcy in our lives.
Absolutely. Cheers to that. I completely agree. And thank you so very much for joining me. And I absolutely, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate your time. Thank you.
You know what? Thanks for having me, Tarah. It was awesome. And like I said, I rarely do these things, and I was just absolutely thrilled that you invited me to be on your show today. And thank you for the opportunity, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thanks.